This week's video is brought to you by Sonuby. I think it's fair to say that landscape photos don't always work out. For me, probably 80% of the shots I take end up in that not quite there category. And by fail, I don't mean they don't get likes on Instagram. I mean, when I get home and I look at the images, it often feels like they don't quite live up to what I imagined in the field. So if you've ever had that same experience, you're definitely not alone. So in this video, I want to share a few lessons I've learned over the years and some simple ways we can tip that failure rate back into our own favour. So I'm out for an overnight in the van today, and honestly, I don't have a solid plan yet for what I'm going to be shooting today, so hopefully something comes together as I wander around looking for compositions. But it kind of got me thinking, you know, the main reason I think most landscape photos don't quite make the mark is that our expectations and reality don't always line up. And really, I think when it comes to taking photos in the landscape, I think there are two main approaches that are often taken. The preconceived shot, you know, the one where we've scouted before and we're returning with a very specific image in mind, and the, I guess, reactive shot where we're out walking and something suddenly catches our eye, you know, like say a patch of light or a dramatic cloud formation. Now, I guess with those preconceived shots, the success rate for me is honestly pretty low. I've got images I've been chasing for years that I'd love to add to my portfolio, but I guess the perfect light just hasn't really happened yet. Now that doesn't mean it's not worth trying, but it does mean failure is far more common with that approach. On the other hand, you know, reactive shots are a little bit different, aren't they? You know, you see the burst of light, you scramble to get your camera ready, maybe even ditch the tripod because things are moving too quickly, and sometimes the photos work out really well, but because it's all so rushed, the composition or execution might not quite live up to the, I guess, the magic that you felt in the moment. Now, personally, I have a much higher success rate with these types of images than I do with the preconceived shots. But sometimes I feel there's something that, you know, maybe could be improved on if I had more time when I was taking the photo. I think at the end of the day, you know, both approaches boil down to expectations. The higher the expectation for a specific condition, the greater the chance of disappointment if it doesn't really play out exactly how you imagined, I guess. So the big question is, how do we adapt when the landscape doesn't give us what we hope for? So I framed a little shot up here, really focusing on the textures and the details of this seaweed clinging to the cliff face here on the left-hand side, then a bit of a flow of water running through the image and a little patch of sand, so it balances out a little bit. And we've got all these trickling droplets of water running through the scene. And I put the polarizer on to take a little bit of shine and reflection off of the surfaces, and it also helps me to extend my shutter speed a little bit as well, to a 15th of a second at f9, and that just shows a little bit of motion in the water, and I think it just helps to add a little bit more, I guess, interest to the scene. So yeah, I think it's quite a nice one to start with, and then there's a little waterfall down there that I want to try and focus on as well in a minute. Right, let's take this image. So going back to what I was saying about adapting, and I actually think this is key, because building a meaningful composition really isn't that easy, is it? It takes time, it takes patience, and also a bit of luck, because there's always elements outside of our control. At the end of the day, it really comes down to three things, doesn't it? Timing, the weather, and our ability to pull the elements together in the frame to create something that feels complete to us. So let me give you a real world example, because I've said this so many times on this channel. You know, I'll get my composition lined up, maybe a nice foreground, but then at the top of the frame it's just plain blue sky. And I'll say to myself, I've got everything framed up, but I wish there was more cloud detail. The sky just looks a little bit boring. And I've genuinely said that so many times it's ridiculous. And yet I'll still go ahead and take the shot. Then of course when I get home and look at it, that same disappointment hits me straight away, which makes me ask myself, if I already knew I wasn't happy with the shot in the moment, why did I take it in the first place? So if something doesn't work, try not to force it. Exclude that thing that bothers you, or move on and find something else entirely. As I mentioned earlier, light and weather obviously plays such a big role in photography, doesn't it? And on that note, you know, I've been trying out a brand new weather app called Sonuby, who are actually kindly sponsoring this week's video. And honestly, it feels like a bit of a game changer for us photographers. So, unlike generic weather apps, Sonuby gives you forecasts designed specifically with photography in mind. You get detailed reports on things like sunrise, sunset, golden hour, blue hour, cloud cover, visibility, even sunshine minutes, everything you need really to plan an outdoor photography shoot. Now, one of the features I really like is how customizable it is. And you can move and hide or highlight the data that matters to you most, so your dashboard feels tailored to the way you shoot. And with brand new iOS widgets, you can build a photographer's weather panel right on your home screen. Another awesome feature which I've been using a lot is being able to get precise forecast data for a pinpoint location. And this also takes into consideration altitude as well, which is great if you're planning a mountain hike, for example. You can see what the temperature and the weather's going to be like on the peaks. So it's obviously quite often a lot different to what it's like in the valleys, isn't it? So that is super important as well. Of course, it's not just for photography. The forecasts are useful for daily life and other outdoor activities too, like surfing, for example, which I've been using a lot as well. But having a tool built with photographers in mind really sets it apart from other weather apps. Now, if you'd like to try it for yourselves, you can get a 25% off your first year with the code IAN25. I'll leave a link down in the video description for you. I found it super helpful and I'm sure you will as well. So a big thanks to Sonuby for supporting the channel. So with all that in mind, I think what we really need to do is plan our shoot for the morning, because currently we're out on the west coast, which obviously faces towards the evening light, doesn't it? But I'm thinking for our morning shoot, I really want to be on the southeast coast when we've got that light coming across the ocean towards the cliffs or the landscape in which we might be shooting. So I think we need to move to get the best of the morning conditions. Now, I've just checked the weather app and it seems like the further east we go, the more chance of fog that we have, which is really cool because that gives us maybe a few different possibilities for the morning. Now, I know, Pembrokeshire like the back of my hand now, and fog is a fickle thing here. Now, with that in mind, what I'm thinking of is trying to choose a location that works well for fog, so maybe a woodland, but also if the conditions are clear, an area that we can shoot that's going to give us the best opportunity of capturing some nice light as well. And I do have one particular location in mind. If it's foggy or misty and there's some nice, beautiful rays of light coming through the woodland, then obviously we can focus on the woodland images. If conditions are clear, we can just wander through that woodland down to the cove and hopefully capture some nice early morning light. So I think that is the solid plan that we're going to have. So it's all a case now of just getting on over there. So yeah, I think I'll call it that for this evening. I'll make my journey over there, find a nice park up, and we'll take it from there and we'll see what happens in the morning. So it was quite a chilly night last night, and this morning it is atmospheric. There's a little bit of mist in the air at the minute, but nothing significant as yet. There's a lot of fog clinging to the hillside across the bay there, which is often the case in this area. But that doesn't matter because this little bay here is absolutely wonderful, and we're going to be working on seeing if we can make a foreground, trying to get some of that nice golden light in our frame as well, and then hopefully something will happen and we'll get some atmospheric conditions, because the woodland that I've just walked through is absolutely beautiful. So I'm really excited to see what we can make this morning. Right, let's get a wiggle on. So, as is often the case with me, I get drawn towards the light, and I set a shot up back there that I wasn't really happy with. It just wasn't really floating my boat, if you will. So I actually didn't bother even taking a shot. I was faffing around with my tripod, seeing if I could make a composition with some rocks in the foreground and then the sun rising in the background. But to be honest, it was lacking. It just didn't really tie together particularly well. There was a lot of aircraft trails in the sky as well, which I thought actually didn't really add to the scene. I really don't like seeing aircraft trails in my images. So yeah, I very quickly, fortunately, decided against taking the shot and to move on. And I turned round and the light was catching these twisted oak trees that are coming out of this incredible rock bed here, which is absolutely amazing. Now, the stone in this area is quite orange, and it's all broken and crumbly, and the light's catching it beautifully. And yeah, because the light's coming in from this side, all the branches are being side lit. So yes, I have set up a shot on the tripod, and I'm really liking the look of the composition actually. We've got these craggy rocks here in the foreground on the right hand side, the roots of the oak tree just clinging around these rocks, which is really cool as well. You can even see some rocks actually inside of the tree as well, which is really cool. Now, I've really focused on 3 trees here. Just behind the first one, there's one that's bending over to the right, and then one just beyond that in a gap. It's one that just forks off and reaches out into the sky. The blue sky is very dark as well, so it's really easy to expose for. I'm able to get this in one shot, no focus stacking required. Lovely, absolutely fantastic. At the minute, we're at a 1/5 of a second, f8, ISO 125. So I think the light is almost perfect right now. I don't think I'd change anything. So let's go and take this shot. You know, the funny thing about weather is it's what makes landscape photography so difficult, isn't it? But at the same time, it's what makes it so rewarding as well. I think one thing I have to keep reminding myself is to not think of bad weather as necessarily a wasted trip. Instead, I try to shift my perspective and look at what the current light is offering me. Quite often, it's those unexpected conditions that can lead to the most interesting images. So the only thing for it is to go, react, and have fun experimenting. Every second I spend out here in nature is definitely worth it, in my opinion. So I've been thoroughly enjoying this morning. It's been absolutely beautiful down here, really tranquil, really calm, just absolutely fantastic. One of those beautiful mornings that you just hope for when you're out with your camera. So yeah, it's just an absolute pleasure to be down here. Now, I've been scouring this area somewhat for the last 20 minutes or so, not rushing around, just biding my time, enjoying myself, just taking in, this peaceful environment, and see if I can find, obviously, another photograph. And I've come up with one just down here, a tiny little rock pool, and just above where we've got these oak trees, some of the leaves have fallen down, and one of the oak leaves is sitting in the pool. It's a mixture, I think, between light and shade. It's definitely got a bit of a flow through the image, and the pool of water that sits in the middle of it is reflecting the blue sky from above. So we've got that colour contrast there, the warm light hitting the rocks versus the cool reflection of the sky in the pool. And obviously, because it's autumn, we've got the orange oak leaf as well, which helps that colour contrast between the two. So I think that works in our favour for this particular shot. I've got the telephoto lens on. I'm at 135mm. It's one of those shots where I'm going to need to focus stack it because I'm on a bit of an angle looking across it. So the foreground is a lot closer to the lens than the background of the shot, even though it's a very small vignette of the landscape, if you will. The depth of field is quite shallow. So yeah, at f8 I'm having to take 3 photos. One on the foreground, one on the leaf, and one in the background there, which I think works really well. And I've tried to get a continuation or a flow through the images between the light and the shade, which I think works quite well. So I think it's fair to say most landscape photos fail because of the weather, but failure isn't wasted. It teaches you to adapt, to observe, and to return. Every failed image, I think, leads to lessons learned, and the more we learn about ourselves and our own work, the more fulfilling the experience of photography becomes. So what a beautiful morning it's been down here. Such a privilege to be here amongst these old ancient rocks and the twisted oak trees above and the beautiful, tranquil, calm waters lapping at the shoreline. Just an absolute pleasure to be here. I do hope you enjoyed this overnight trip away in the van, and I hope you maybe got a little bit of inspiration from this video as well for your next shoot. If you'd like to see more trips away, please do let me know in the comments section. It's something I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into more of on the channel. So yeah, please do let me know if that is something you are into. I always take on board all of your thoughts in the comments section. I read every single one and I get back to as many as possible as well. So yeah, it's always great to hear what you guys have been up to. Anyway, I think we'll wrap the video up here. Up here, you'll find another one that you might also like, and over on this side are links to my store where you'll find things like my presets and my ebook on composition. Anyway, until next week, take care.